All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of a Pinball Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here, for listening, for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you hear craziness in the background, I do apologize. My 4 crazy-ass kids are home from school today thanks to snow days, and they're supposed to be doing virtual school, but if you can hear them in the background, they're basically just acting like wild banshees right now, and I'm just going to let them be kids at this point because we're all stuck in at home, and it has been just a crazy week this week. Now, we are going to talk about Pirates of the Caribbean from Jersey Jack. We're going to discuss the crazy spike as if this is a GameStop stock. We're going to talk about this crazy spike that has happened. But before then, just a little bit of general talk just for a few minutes. Pretty much, I had another podcast that was ready to go with Tom Graff of Wisconsin. We were going to talk about a tournament that was to be this weekend at District 82, the Winter 2X. However, my whole computer software, my camera, everything just bugged out the entire time we were doing it. So unfortunately, that file is so corrupt. I don't even know if it's savable at this point. But I will say he is going to be streaming that on Foxcitiespinball this weekend. I am supposed to be there, and I'm going to try everything I can to go there. Now, I'm due. As of this podcast, it's February 11th at 10 a.m. I'm supposed to be on a plane tomorrow morning to Wisconsin. The problem is that I'm running into right now is Oklahoma City is due to have record snow, blizzard-like conditions this weekend. I believe it's kind of flurrying outside right now, and we do have ice on the ground right now. The roads are basically undrivable because in Oklahoma, if there's tornadoes, we're like the 300 Spartans, everything's fine. We're all charging. We all go outside to watch. But when it snows or it ices over, we're just like the Monty Python Grail Knights, just hiding in the background. We don't work well with ice and snow around here. We're never prepared for it. For whatever reason, the only thing that happens here in Oklahoma when it ices and snows, guys, is legitimately all the milk and all the bread gets sold out. Oklahomans need their milk. They need their bread when it snows. For whatever reason, that's just the way it is. I don't buy it, but that's just the way it is. So with that being said, I hope I can get on a plane. The problem I'm going to run into is not necessarily getting there. It's getting back. They're saying between 10 to 15 inches of snow is due here on Sunday, and that's when I'm supposed to fly back. And therefore, if that happens, it's legitimately going to shut down our state for over a week. It legitimately will. And then I'll be stranded somewhere in Wisconsin. And I'm not sure yet if I can do that. But that being said, circling back around, yes, circle back for everybody scoring at home. So circling back around, the tournament's going to be shown this weekend on Twitch. I believe it starts at 9:30 a.m. Central Time for Foxcitiespinball on Twitch. And then even if you guys don't see it live, it's going to be on all day long. It's like 10 or 12 rounds, and then they're doing a 3-strike afterwards too. If you don't happen to catch that, it will be up on YouTube afterwards at Tom's YouTube also, and I can link up to that whenever it does become available. But I encourage you guys, if you guys are into tournament pinball, if you're brand new and you're thinking about getting into competitive pinball, this is a good thing to watch, even if you don't watch it live, just because there's so many different types of games. You get to see a mix of a modern game, one round, then a classic game the next round, and they're all set up to tournament standards, and they all play very well. Everything is greatly taken care of up there by the owner Eric. It's a great facility. It's by far my favorite facility to visit around the country. It really is. It's breathtaking to see, and if you ever get a chance to see it, I highly recommend that you go check it out. All right, so moving forward, Led Zeppelin Pro. My review is nearly ready. I swear, guys, I'm doing it. I decided to add in a lot of B-roll to this one. I wasn't going to just do a podcast just to talk about it, although you probably heard me on either Kaneda's podcast talking about it briefly or for a couple of minutes, or talking about it on this very podcast as well. And definitely to clear the air, because I've had some people asking me different questions about it, about what my true opinion is and everything. The reality is the way that I operate with pinball, I want to always give honest feedback. And just because I have certain criticisms of a pin, it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't actually enjoy that pin. I recognize that not every pin is perfect, and therefore you're going to have some issues with it. There's always going to be something that isn't quite right that you wish was a little bit better, or that you just don't like at all. Certain mechanics, certain design choices, that happens. But the reality is there's still a ton of fun in it, and it's still fun for me to own personally. I mean, it's just, to me, it's like a video game. If I'm playing a video game, I may not like all the choices in it. I may not understand all the choices in it, but I'm still going to enjoy playing that game for an extended amount of time. And that's the way I feel about Led Zeppelin. For me, it's a fun overall game, and my review will be fairly positive. Just spoiler alert, just because from the way that I look at it, it is a fun game. Now, with that review, I'm hoping to have it out. My goal was to have it out this week, but I'm probably going to bring it out early next week. Legitimately, I've gone all out for this video. I'm terrible at editing. I'm kind of just teaching myself along the way. And I legitimately have over 100 elements of B-roll for this video. That's roughly about 11 to 13 minutes long, somewhere right around there. So I try to keep it moving along, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it overall, because that's the way I plan on doing my reviews from here on out. Whenever I do get a hands-on review that is here at my house or somewhere close by on location, that's my general plan. So moving forward to the actual podcast topic now, 6 minutes in, and we're finally getting to it, guys. Thank you guys for hanging in there. All right, so Jersey Jack, Pirates of the Caribbean. If you guys have not been paying attention to this lately, the prices on there have absolutely just shot up through the roof. And I've been wondering, just to myself, when I'm sitting down here, not talking to anybody but a mic, just wondering, what does this mean for pinball exactly? And when we're talking about these prices shooting up, to give you guys an idea, let me bring up, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see my display capture real quick, and hopefully this will work. I got to remember all my buttons, of course. I'm not even going to edit it out. You guys are going to hang out here with me when I'm doing this. Come on. Come on. There we go. All right. So this machine came out, guys, roughly about 2.5, 3 years ago now. Or maybe 2.5 years ago. It's been a little while. Back in 2018, announced late 2017. And as you guys can see, the MSRP for these pins back in the day was $8,500 for the standard, $9,500 for the limited edition, $12,500 for the collector's edition. And knowing all this, the pins right now are selling for anywhere, and this is up on Pinside, the pins are selling for anywhere between $19,500 clear up to $25,000. And there are multiple pins up for sale. This isn't just one or two. Last time I checked, as of this podcast, there's at least 8, and I know of at least 5 others that are out there that aren't even on Pinside that are right around the same price. And it makes me curious as to where this is going to lead. At what's the end game to this. And what I mean by that is, keep in mind that this game basically goes against nearly every single talking point when it comes to what a lot of people believe pinball should be. It legitimately does. And I'm going to go over why that is here in just a few, but knowing where these prices are, I would be absolutely shocked, just floored if Jersey Jack does not rerun these games. I know it's been heard or been said they don't plan on it and all this, but there's money obviously to be made here when we just saw what the MSRP was just a couple of years ago. And now we see a pin that was $9,500 new in box is now being priced at $20,000 to $25,000 used. That right there. If you have a Pirates and you're debating on selling, me personally, if I had one, I would be selling right now at 17, 18. I would just be going, collecting my money, moving on, because I would be absolutely shocked if there's not a rerun of this. And I don't have any authority on that. I don't know. I'm just saying, just looking at how this is all working out, I would be very surprised when I look at the history of Jersey Jack from rerunning games. When I know that they're looking at this, and when you see that you could probably price this machine all of a sudden for $2,000 to $3,000 more with the same amount of price for parts that could still be around, why not do it? Why not do it? But coming back to why this goes against every nearly every single talking point that we know about pinball or what people believe pinball should be. We got to look at it this way. On this pin in general, there are... All right, 1 second. I hear a kid crying. Let's go check that out real quick. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Apparently, one of my daughters was upset because the cat was not playing with her. Obviously, I should have got a dog. But getting back to it, okay, the funny part about this pinball machine is that it does go against nearly every single talking point when it comes to what a lot of people believe pinball should be. And those points are, and this is dealing with pirates, of course, these points are, is that there was a lot of lack of assets with this game, in which it didn't have key actors. There was no music from the movies. The rule set itself was incredibly complicated. Incredibly complicated. If we just look here on this capture, this is the rules flow chart right here. And guys, I'm the type that I love a great rule set. I love in-depth rules. I love rules that have a lot of breadth to them also. But this right here, this even confuses me at times. This is a very difficult rule set to really figure out. And I mean, just the rule set in general, there's 22 characters to choose from. There's 6 multi-balls, not even including all the wizard modes. I believe that there's upwards of 6 wizard modes completely. I mean, there is so much going on, and there's big reasons for that. And one of the main reasons why is that, yes, the game is jam-packed, but because it's so jam-packed, you need a reason to really use all those mechs. It creates a need to have a fairly in-depth rule set, whether it's the LCD, whether it's as many different moving parts to the game there is, because you really need a reason to use all those parts, to shoot everything that's in there, to use all the flippers that are in there. And so those are 3 things right there that, it goes against the general perception that you really need a ton of assets from a theme, and that you need music, you need voice actors, you need from the movie or from the assets themselves, or that you need a rule set that's really simplified, because this machine does none of that. It literally does none of that. And even when you get even a little bit more in depth to it, if you guys remember, and this was on Jersey Jack's YouTube channel back in April of 2018, to where before this machine went into full production, they legitimately removed 2 of the mechs in there, to where the spinning, or not completely removed, but they altered the mechs. The spinning mech in the middle, that's currently a single mech. Some of you guys might not remember this. It used to be a triple mech before then, and then they realized that they had to switch it to single. And then also the chess mech was changed to be stationary instead of opening and closing. So those are 2 major things of the game that altered. Now, obviously, it didn't break the game. It didn't change people's want for the game 3 years later, but it did alter a lot of people's perception early on, because that was not a popular decision. As a matter of fact, I believe that video still, it has more downvotes than upvotes. And I know on Pinside, people just lost their minds. And I know for a fact with myself, my wife, she's a huge Pirates fan, and we were going to be in on an LE for it. I was going to surprise her with it, because one of the first pinball machines I got her, if you can kind of see it over here, is the Stern POTC. And as soon as I saw that mech was changing, the spinning disc mech was changing, that's when I decided, I'm out. Like, we couldn't justify doing it at that point. But that being said, it still is a beautiful game. Obviously, there's still a lot going on to it, but these are all the things that are lined up for a game in which now it's going for $20,000 on the third-party market. So what does this tell us about the future of pinball? Because this is a theme that wasn't even in high demand at the time, guys. It was not in high demand. And I don't even know if this theme is even in high demand now. I don't know. I would think that the reason why that this pin is so inflated at this point is just because people want something that not too many people have. Since this game, the production of this game, there wasn't a ton that went out in the public, just because the sales weren't quite that big. That's just the reality of it. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised at all, Like I said earlier in this podcast, that's why I'd be shocked if this did not come back out again and do another run, because there's so much money that is left on the table, and that's free for the taking at this point. So why not do it, in my opinion? I mean, if people are willing to pay 18 to 25,000 for it on third-party market, you better believe New and Bucks, they're going to be willing to pay 12.5 for it, even if it's the LE version on a rerun. I mean, that's the way these economics are going to work for sure. And, you know, I wonder too now, if Pirates is going up that high, now I'm starting to legitimately wonder, and you guys are going to think I'm crazy about this, but I'm starting to legitimately wonder if the CEs for GNR at $20,000 might actually be underpriced now. I'm actively wondering that. And again, that's just speculation. I'm not saying, oh, somebody go out there and price it at 25-30 or some crazy ass number. But I'm wondering, like, where is the ceiling to this? Because GNR is a much more desirable pin. And yes, there's going to be a lot more pins out there, but I have to believe too that the people that are in on the CEs for GNR, the vast majority of them are Mega fans. So I really wonder, if I had a CE, I would have thought around 18 to 20,000 would have been a pretty good resale value on it. Not saying I would do that. That would just be my assumption. But now I'm actively wondering if that is underpriced now, just seeing where Jersey Jack is going. And at the same time, with their increased prices for GNR, when they went up by $1,000 on the MSRP just last week, to where now even their standard is coming in at around $8,000 when you're considering taxes and being all in with shipping, it ends up probably coming up over $8,000 for a standard. Now, I'm really curious as to where Jersey Jack goes from here, because even their owner, Brett Abbess, I hope I'm getting that right, but I do remember the early podcast for Jersey Jack on their episode 2, I believe, that he was even stating on there that it was very important for Jersey Jack to start going after location pinball, because he felt like it's an important area of growth for them. I think he was kind of hinting at that in order to penetrate that market that Stern has a hold of. And they even stated as much, that they were looking at help, trying to help locations get back on their feet to make it easier to buy a Jersey Jack pinball machine. But now, if I'm a location and I'm looking at Jersey Jack in general, I really don't see how I can justify even getting the standard, because it's, how do you get your money back on that on location? Unless you're starting to do dollar coin drop, unless you're charging a lot of money, I don't see how a lot of these places can get it. So I'm curious to see, and I'm not saying it's not possible, I'm just curious to see how that plays out in the future, with future themes coming out, with new pinball machines coming out. I'm curious to see where that matches up at. And that leads me to wonder, what type of innovations is Jersey Jack going to do? What boundaries are they going to push? Now, is these price increases, will they allow for more boundary pushing? Are they just a result of raw material prices or costs going up, which probably is most likely, because I can tell you from personal experience, I know a lot of stuff that I do with my career, there's a lot of stuff that is going up for raw material cost. It's getting a little nutty out there. So I am curious to see where Jersey Jack goes from here, and how they're going to really develop these pinball machines, and what innovations are they going to do, and are these games going to continue to kind of exceed our expectations on being jam-packed? Like, where do you go after GNR? How do you exceed our expectations? How do you even meet the expectations? They've set the bar so high. I really am curious to see what happens by summertime, where we are at by then. But that's all I got, though, guys. It's a quick episode. Sorry about the little interruptions here and there. I will have the Led Zeppelin review up hopefully early next week. That's the goal. It's pretty much done. I just got to tighten up my edit. Thank you guys for getting to the end of this episode. Leave a like below, comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you guys think. That's what I'm trying to get out. I can't even get my intro done. All right, and I gotta fix Iron Maiden too. I just noticed it's flashing purple. Thank you, Pin Stadiums that are on it. I have no idea why it's doing that all of a sudden. That's what I get for having power surges. All right, guys, I'm out. Later, guys.